We've been married for 20 years. We've been together since 1998.
This is a love story.
It was just like, love at first sight. People don't believe it, but it is true.
Movie-worthy, real-life magic.
Like, the birds were chirping when he left, but we have been inseparable since.
You can feel it. The love Ed and Keisha Breyer West share. They're a shout it from the rooftops, billboard for your birthday, matchy t-shirt kind of family. They also share a love so deep, it's generations in the making, a blended family with 7 children and now grandchildren.
Little ones, to him belong, they are we.
I'm gonna cry. I guess I'm family oriented. Well, all of us are. He was very family oriented.
They will all tell you Ed has always been larger than life.
Personality fills a room.
It'll be over.
Oh, yeah. In the morning. Bless the people.
So when he becomes passionate about something, it is no stopping.
He was a presence. And when I say everybody know that he's gone, my house is quiet.
This building is quiet.
Ed West was not quiet.
Since I was 5, 6 years old and singing, everybody always said, that's a church boy. He sound like church. Even when I be in the club singing, boy, you sound like you in church.
Gotta take a chance, execute the plan. Destiny is waiting.
The only thing that ever fulfills me is gospel music.
I'm Dominic Davis.
I'm Everett Sr.
I'm Larry Jones Jr.
And we're Collage.
Ed and 2 friends performed as Collage 3, a hit gospel trio that toured around for a while.
In New Orleans, he was a local celebrity.
And people loved his voice.
Open your eyes, your heart, your mind.
On March 21st, I was at my cousin's.
12 days into the pandemic,
He called me. He was like, I don't feel good. And I thought he was playing. And I said, are you serious? He was like, yeah, I'm serious. I don't feel good.
5 days after that, Keisha knew full well it was getting bad. She's a nurse.
He could not catch his breath. And I'm witnessing my husband go through this, and I'm like, it's nothing that I could do.
She would later learn they were both sick with COVID, laying together in bed, holding hands. She says something told her to take this picture while his were still warm, holding on. But the time came she had to let go.
Dropping him off at the hospital, not being able to go in, and we did everything together. It tore me apart.
Even in those early days of the pandemic, FaceTime video calls were a source of dread. Keisha got hers a day after Ed was admitted to the hospital. Doctors wanted to put him on a ventilator.
He looked as if he was letting me down in his illness. He had a look like he was letting me down, and I immediately caught that, and I said, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. And I told him I love him about 50 times.
Final words as Ed unknowingly was taking his final breaths.
I begged the hospital. I was like, I wouldn't leave out. I'm not going to leave out. I'm going to stay there with him, if he just knew that I was there.
But she couldn't be there. COVID restrictions would not allow it. The couple reunited only after his heart beat for the last time.
And it was just that flat line on the strip. I saw it from like 20 feet away, and I said, Doc, he's gone. He said, unfortunately, Miss West, he's gone. And I lost it. Oh, that ride home, it was just so quiet. It's like I could hear everything. It's like it was unreal. I get home and I sit on my sofa and I'm just looking around in my house and I'm saying, he would never be here again. He would never be here again.
COVID-19 robbed the Wests of a proper funeral. Just a handful of people gathered in the church. A man who touched so many lives, working for the Louisiana Federation for Children, getting other kids access to private school scholarships, building the music program One Vision, One Voice. Friends say he never met a person he wouldn't help. Yet all of those people were shut out when it came time to say goodbye. Instead, 1,700 people watched the service online.
It'll be a year in April. It's just like so unbelievable.
It's our anniversary.
Now it's the little things that bring the tears.
Oh my God.
Shoes he never got a chance to wear. He loved shoes. The Uno wars without him. The quiet.
The way his fingers and the way his toes and the way his laugh, you know.
But Edward West Sr. will never really be gone.
And I'm crying, and Ethan just was like, Mom, it's okay. You know, my daddy taught us how to be men.
And I remember getting on my knees, and I said, Lord, I want to be a better man.
And I'm thinking in my mind, this boy is 14 years old.
But his dad made sure he knew to be a better man, just like the hit song West was known for. He started an outreach effort with the same name, all a legacy left behind at just 51 years old. COVID-19 killed more than 530,000 people nationwide so far, each of them with love stories of their own, just like Ed's.
I feel so funny and I feel so sad. I want a little steam on my clothes. Well, before Little Jim Saloon closed, I was performing there at least 3 to 5 times a month. But now you sing outside and you have your private gigs and everything else is online.
Jazz Fest has announced it is canceling this year.
Music venues in the city will stay closed.
A lot of musicians facing constant worry.
There's nowhere to play, there's nowhere to interact with your audience.
Well, canceling so many events has really hurt a lot of our local musicians.
It was scary, it was scary, it was scary. It was just scary because like everything stopped.
You've seen them everywhere, musicians holding special concerts live on social media.
At the beginning of COVID, a lot of artists were going live on Facebook. Whatever Lola wants. And the tips and donations did help.
Using social media to live stream shows twice a week.
We got to keep the music going and keep everybody's spirits lifted.
Providing a small stream of income through a virtual tip jar.
Like I literally would sing for a couple of hours. Them that's got shall have. And would be able to actually say, okay, let me pay this phone bill. Okay, I can knock out the energy bill. The Bible says. Out of fear.
We begin tonight with breaking news. The death of a New Orleans music icon, Ellis Marsalis.
Not wanting to lose your home and things, you just, tonight you're mine. Okay, let me set this camera up and let me sing. It's completely different, but I'm just gonna go for it. You give your love. If I get too nervous, I would just lay down, say a prayer, and just keep, you have to just stay strong, you know, wake up and say, okay, what am I gonna do? Okay, let me get this cell phone. Hi, you know, start singing. I want to be safe, but I want to have a roof over my head. It's the streets. So you do have different elements of, you know, sometimes people have a little bit too much to drink, and I'm a female out there by myself. I'm thankful for every moment, though, and I'm thankful for how people respond to me. It's a great feeling. Thank you. I love you more. It's a big boost and a big connection with the people. Oh, well, coronavirus. When I'm singing, it's not just about, okay, I can pay my energy bill. It's about healing, too, and just, I don't know, it just feels good when you go outside and sing. Even if you didn't make that much, you're like, all right, that's okay. It felt good. It was a beautiful day.
We're currently moving in the right direction.
Live music will be allowed indoors again.
When the numbers are low, we are able to make those incremental changes.
Jazz Fest joins other major springtime festivals forced into the fall.
Best thing we can do is to be prepared.
And when we do it, boy, it's gonna be a party.
These times are really gonna define who makes it and who just breaks. Give it up for these amazing musicians, ladies and gentlemen.
When I first started going to college, I was actually pre-dental. And I continued to do that after I graduated.
Janae Williams, the biology major, fell in love with the chemistry behind the bar, serving up cocktails in higher-end restaurants before the pandemic. And how much would you make on an average weekend?
Ooh, I would make at least $200 to $300 a night.
That all stopped.
All bars will be closed.
Bars must shut down.
That's a lot of people out of work.
In March of 2020.
The shift was very abrupt, you know? It was kind of like, okay, well, we're disinfecting, we're doing this, that, and the third, and then shutdown happened, and then I got the call that we weren't going to open.
She bartended at Bakery Bar, a quaint spot nearly tucked under the Pontchartrain Expressway, where Dopage cakes meet craft cocktails.
My boss called me, and he just told me that we were shut down indefinitely. So it was kind of, you know, I really couldn't do anything. I was in shock. I just sat there for a second. I really didn't know how to respond. And I just kind of took the next few days, you know, just resting for a little bit until I decided to, you know, kind of figure it out.
It was so hard.
Faith Simmons is one of the Bakery Bar owners.
When we got sort of the major restaurant restrictions in late March, we sat down, we looked at our books, we looked at sort of like our business forecast and decided that it was more important to us to focus on long-term sustainability.
A people-minded small business, Simmons said they also couldn't guarantee the safety of their staff. Remember, at the time, no one knew if, for example, putting up plexiglass around the bar was enough. And the city shut it all down to stop the spread.
Governor Edwards issued a stay-at-home order.
Bars and nightclubs will close at midnight.
Could risk losing their license.
A very quiet French Quarter.
Let's do what we can to take care of people now and then hopefully be able to come back strong in the future.
COVID put their dreams of Dopage and drinks on indefinite hold.
So it kind of took a long time for me to process, you know. It took me a few days. I kind of let myself rest and then I kind of freaked out. But after that freak out, that's when I had that talk with myself, like, what are we going to do? How are we going to devise a plan?
She's not just a mixologist.
Hey!
She's a mom.
Give me a kiss.
The pandemic hit as Genevieve was turning 1. Is there any way to describe that fear of what it's like to not know how you're going to feed your baby?
I don't know. It was troubling. It was really hard. I don't know. It was really tough. Unemployment didn't last very long, and it also didn't go very long, especially for me with a kid. So I can just imagine how people with multiple kids, you know, were feeling after everything happened. It must have been super stressful.
She started thinking about what else she could do. How could she make money when the bars were closed?
Hey, I'm Janae, and I love creating cute aesthetics with my tech accessories.
A few years ago, I actually tried my hand at blogging and I really liked it. When deciding on what to buy, I was careful not to compromise quality for a lower price. So I decided to try to do it for profit. I created a blog called Everyday Janae, which is about everyday tech accessories.
Are you thinking about customizing your Nintendo Switch?
And it started doing pretty well. I was making money with affiliate links from that.
Hey, I'm Janae.
And that turned into this.
A few months ago, I started making cocktail tutorials on TikTok and transitioned them to Instagram, and they kind of took off.
Super smart, super kind person who's got an incredible palate and is just like a rock star behind the bar.
Now that rock star is running social media for a cocktail training company.
It's like Christmas.
Blogging. Dancing. But not from New Orleans anymore.
I wanted to stay in the city, but I knew this was the better option for me because it would take some of that stress off of me and also give me the opportunity to kind of grow in a different space. New Orleans wasn't limiting to me, but I definitely could have used a change of scenery for sure.
1, 2. Family drew her back to Georgia. Help with Genevieve while she figured it all out.
I took a month to myself. I stayed up every night after my daughter went to sleep, and I made my website and I started producing content, and I actually started making money.
Now she's in a place where she can help grow not only her own brand, but highlight Black bartenders, helping in the battle for equity and social justice for Black Americans.
Calls for justice in Floyd's death is going on across the U.S.
I'm so tired of worrying about my family. Even in New Orleans, it was rare that I would work with another Black bartender. I can only remember 2 times that I was actually employed with another Black bartender. So it's very rare. And I think that's something that we need to keep in mind going forward about diversifying our staff.
As Bakery Bar began reopening in October of 2020, they made a statement about Black lives too.
We feel it's important to talk to y'all about some stuff that's been on our minds. We believe that kindness is powerful. We believe that each person has worth, that Black lives matter, that people should be paid a living wage and have a right to a safe and supportive workplace.
Both Bakery Bar and Williams are trying to make a difference, only now 3 states apart.
The main concern is that the virus could cripple the healthcare system.
We worry for our patients.
It's really hard.
We'd worry for our families.
The governor is saying that we could hit capacity in less than a week.
And we'd worry for ourselves.
People who are just incredibly sick.
Health systems are being pushed to the brink.
We're concerned, we're scared.
They were at war before they even knew the enemy was in the room.
I started to suspect we had COVID patients in the beginning of March. And I had a patient that was admitted for flu-like symptoms after a cruise where about 10 of their friends got sick as well. But they admitted her for flu, but she didn't have the flu, and they put her on Tamiflu and sent her home. But sure enough, she came back a week later and was admitted for the double pneumonia. And I had been exposed, to her.
Amy Devine was already a registered nurse, but she had just graduated from nurse practitioner school, more advanced training, when the pandemic surfaced at the major Metro New Orleans area hospital where she was working. She doesn't want to say which one.
One day it was particularly bad, where I had the same amount of patients I would have before COVID, but did total care for all the patients and didn't have the right PPE, and that's the day that I put my notice in.
Case numbers continue to rise.
This is a very serious situation.
What do you think now, looking back on what you knew then?
I feel like New Orleans kind of got the short end of the stick like we usually do. We were kind of flying blind and just sticking together and trying to find out what works and what doesn't. New Orleans really did work hard to get it under control.
P.
The nurses are concerned.
P.
Some shipments of PPE have been diverted.
E.
There's not a storeroom of PPE at these hospitals.
Personal protective equipment, masks, gowns, shields used to protect healthcare workers from infectious diseases. And not only did New Orleans not have enough, America did not have enough.
The nurses are concerned that they do not have enough PPE.
Are they getting sick?
Yes, some of them are getting sick. They're worried about getting sick.
Amy Devine got sick.
Oftentimes you don't even think about your own safety. And then a lot of other people with families were worried about going home at all. And some were renting rooms or hotel rooms or apartments because they didn't even know, could they give it to their family? Could my clothing, transmit the disease? Back then we really didn't know anything.
They're expected to care for patients that are contagious.
Praying every moment that I took care of this person.
Bree Anderson was a nurse at New Orleans East Hospital and died earlier this week.
It hit me like a ton of bricks.
Abby McNamara is a respiratory therapist. She got sick too.
In the forefront of your mind, all you can think of is, oh my gosh, did I give this to my child? Coming home and you could possibly give it to your family. But luckily, I was changing in the garage. I was going straight to the shower.
I interviewed her after she was released from the hospital last year.
I have not left this bedroom since I got back from the hospital.
Her 4-year-old son Liam was locked out with his father for their own safety.
When he wakes up in the middle of the night and I hear him and he's saying, "Mommy, Mommy," and I can't go out there to go tuck him in. And if he's pulling on the door and I gotta lock the door at night because he wants to come and cuddle. It is so hard.
How can we expand the number of available beds?
Deadly virus.
It was really kind of scary because back then there was still not a lot known about it. It was Easter, so I remember I missed Easter.
This is Abby now. She and her husband are expecting another baby this summer.
We thought COVID was almost done, so we said it was a great time to have a baby and bring 2021 in.
She says she's grateful that at this point in the pandemic, her husband can be there for moments like this one, when they found out they're having another boy.
Baby's a little boy.
But the baby meant big changes for her at the hospital.
Currently, I'm not interacting with COVID patients or treating COVID patients since I'm pregnant, but I do help as much as I can on the outside.
It has been a year many healthcare workers won't soon forget. The highs.
Whenever somebody is getting better, it's literally high fives all around and smiles because you love seeing those success stories.
And the lows.
I just don't remember losing that many patients. An astronomical number. I mean, you would just hear code blue so many times in a day.
Many heroically battled an unknown disease, but the stolen humanity of it seemed to hit the hardest. Healthcare workers had to fill the void left by family members who were locked out.
I couldn't hold his hand. I couldn't kiss him.
Armed with phones and iPads.
I felt like it was like a human rights violation to have someone be dying in the hospital and not allowing visitors to see them. You just can't help but think of all the people that did die alone.
They watched as COVID patient after COVID patient died alone, being there when families couldn't.
I got a new bike for Christmas. My name is Amanda Steele. Charlie is my oldest son, and then my twins are Annabelle and Oliver. Last school year, Charlie was in 6th grade and the twins were in 1st. They were all 3 at the same school at Bonnie Cole. And I was working at Bonnie Cole. I was a full-time sub, so we were all 4 there all the time.
There are few things the pandemic has changed more than parenting.
By the time Mardi Gras break came around, we were exhausted.
I know there's a T, but it said that's wrong. And
we made a choice to keep the kids home.
Oh, God.
There you go.
Life changed for just about every single family, each one differently. Amanda Steele made the tough choice to stay home.
It was a tough decision to go back to being a one-income family.
While it forced Saleya Taylor to make tough decisions about how to parent her 2 young daughters.
It's like my constant battle.
And how to educate hundreds of other pupils as an elementary school administrator.
I run my school and our carpool and like bus dismissals, so we literally, I leave in the middle of our dismissal. I kind of tag team with my boss.
There's no before school care because of COVID.
I play this same game in the morning and afternoon of like this 15-minute time frame to get back and forth between the two schools. Hello.
And you're seeing what after school care looks like.
Oh my goodness.
Have a great weekend.
Take that. Climb up back and buckle up for me.
Mom.
Lele, buckle up. Buckle. My kids' school did offer aftercare, but we actually had COVID and missed the deadline to sign up because we were obviously sick, and it filled up.
I see you.
It makes me exhausted. Like some days it's just that 30-minute time frame is exhausting.
We listened to books on tape in the car while we were driving to our activities before COVID. Now I can sit down and read books with them. The benefits of staying home is that it is more relaxed. We get to do more things as a family. They are spending so much time together that they're getting very close.
Willow as my first ever American Girl doll.
I don't think they'll ever lose the bond that they're getting right now.
For many, things have at least gotten better since last March 13th, when students went home on a Friday and never came back.
Schools across the country are closed today. Stay at home.
Classrooms will be empty.
The numbers are going to get worse this week.
They were only virtual full-time last spring. They've been back in school since August. It was really tough. They're 9 and 4, so trying to get on conference calls. The little one keeping her from getting into her sister's, making sure they're on track with schoolwork. And running a school remotely was a dance that literally I couldn't imagine, thankfully, doing again.
How do you feel you did as a teacher during that time?
I embraced it. I totally embraced it.
She was a really good teacher.
We did like the whole transform into a little classroom thing. And honestly, like I had to be super organized. So I think it worked well.
I miss going to school and seeing my friends, but I also like doing school at home so I can show my mom everything and I can still have fun and stuff. And we even made our own schedule.
Students were welcomed back to the classroom today in St. Tammany Parish.
We talked to them a little bit. We kind of explained what was going on.
Louisiana will have the option to resume class in person.
This is such a level of uncertainty for everybody in our community.
About a quarter of students are going to go back to school.
If he went to school, he would not be able to see my parents. You know, it was his choice. Do you want to go to school and be with your friends, or do you want to stay home and be able to see your grandparents whenever you want? The good is that I'm spending more time with them and I'm getting to know them again.
She's adorable.
You miss out on so much during the day. And this is time that you don't get back. They're only little once. While I want them to be around other people, sometimes it's nice to selfishly have them at home and be with them.
If you press the button and it lights up.
I can't even imagine what it's going to be like to look back on it. I don't think that it'll ever be the same. I think our whole world will be changed forever. And I don't know that that's necessarily a bad thing.
For some, returning to in-person learning was a relief. Fear grabbed hold of others. For Taylor, even though she had COVID in July, she faced that fear on two fronts, for her family and for her staff.
I was happy, and I told my mom the first thing I wasn't gonna do was hug somebody, which is usually the first thing I do.
It was like so difficult because on the one hand, I really felt like it's the best decision to have the kids in school, but oh my gosh, the idea of getting sick was nearly paralyzing.
We have to wear a mask.
I mean, even for my kids, like my little one's 4, and just thinking she's not gonna keep a mask on correctly all day. Like, this is not safe for her. Through a day, I would say we give out about 150 masks at school. Like the constant reminders, cover your nose, cover your mouth. Your mask is too big, let me switch it and give you a correct sized one. Or one of the kids, she was feeling bad today, and we had her take off her mask, and I was like, oh my gosh, you're missing all 4 front teeth. I hadn't seen it. We had been really lucky, I guess. At our school, we hadn't had any sick kids. Like, We had one child who tested positive since all this happened.
Recently, support staff got vaccinated at Children's Hospital.
I think for sure the vaccine is giving a lot of comfort for us. Honestly, like the relief in their faces when they were able to get that vaccine, they were so happy because they felt like one step closer.